I'm going to show you the fastest way to build a social media marketing agency in a way that will actually get you clients. Now, over the last 6 years, I have built multiple agencies to multiple 7 figures, and I have made a lot of mistakes, probably every mistake you could make. And I've bought all the courses, I've watched all the YouTube tutorials, and nothing really worked until I discovered the framework that I'm going to share with you today. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the best business model for SMMA. I'm going to walk you through the 7 stages of client value, the best pricing strategies for client conversion, how to manage risk, and a whole lot more. By the end of this video, you will be able to start an SMMA from scratch and see real results fast. Let's get into it. Okay, so I've actually got a guide for you on my trusty laptop here, and I'm going to run you through this. If you want this guide, you can go to the link in the description. So this video explains the best business model for SMMA, okay? It runs you through the pricing strategies, client incentive structure, and how to actually set up an agency that attracts clients, okay? 10 different unique offers and models, we're going to go through them all. So what actually is the best model? What's the best business model for SMMA? Well, when it comes to SMMA business models, the best is subjective from the client's perspective or from the agency's perspective. Because what is best for you is not always what is best for your client. And what is best for your client is not always what is best for you. And so this is the first thing we have to tackle when designing our business models for SMMA, is we have to take into account that there's 2 parties here. 2 people have to be pleased with the way this offer is structured and the way this model is actually going to run. When selecting and designing your business model, you need to bear this dichotomy in mind, because what is best for the client is not going to be best for the agency, and what is best for the agency is not going to be best for the client. Because the agency and the client want 2 things, all right? First of all, they both want high reward and they both want low risk. So if you're asking yourself, how do I sign clients? It really is as simple as making the reward as strong as possible and the risk as little as possible. But the key to SMMA is picking a business model that helps both parties achieve both of these things. Because if you're just all about your client and you haven't got any personal reason to grow, if you're just working for free and you're not getting any money, you're not going to be incentivized to continue to grow your business. So this is called incentive alignment, and is imperative to the success of your business. There's actually a investor called Charlie Munger. You might be familiar with him. And he is the kind of guy that goes into like companies, invest in companies. He's got shares in Coca-Cola, all these huge companies. And one of the things that he is famous for saying in the investing space is, when you could be focusing on incentives, don't focus on anything else. So when you could be focusing on incentives, don't focus on anything else. And what he basically means is that if you get the incentives right, everything else makes sense, because the core underlying drive of human behavior is incentive. We have to have a reason or a pleasurable reward as a result of our behavior. And that obviously we need to instill that into our business model so that clients, and obviously you as well, are happy. Because if you're not happy, then you're not going to have a long-term relationship. Remember, signing a client is committing to a relationship. And a relationship can only flourish and be extended over a long period of time if both parties are happy. And well, what denotes happiness for these parties? High reward, low risk, okay? So there's 10 different models. I've actually blurred them below for YouTube retention, but let's get into the video and actually start walking you through this. So the first thing that you need to understand is that there are 7 stages of value that an agency can provide. So the thing you have to understand about making money, specifically with the agency model, is that value is created when pain is alleviated. Okay, and I'm going to explain that quote in just a second, but basically what this means is that if you want to make money, you have to exchange something for it. Because the nature of transaction denotes that in order to receive, we have to give. For every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. And if the action of making money exists, which it does, then there has to be a reaction, which is giving value. And so a lot of people talk about this in business, where they say, if you want to make money, give value. But then a lot of people are left scratching their heads wondering what value actually entails. Well, I can tell you that value is created when pain is alleviated. And for marketing, from a marketing perspective, or at least for an agency owner, the highest form of value you can provide is business for your clients, right? Is actually generating customers and generating cash. And so there's 7 stages of value, and this is specifically for a lead generation agency. And I'm going to run you through them now. So there are 7 stages of value for an SMMA client. And this is really important to understand, because if you don't get this, you're not going to get the models, okay? Each one is more valuable than next. Money can only be exchanged for value. So models that make more money have to be focused on adding more value. So newsflash, the more value you add, the more money you make. And this is going to break a lot of people's paradigms. So the first stage of value for an agency to create is awareness, right? So this truly holds next to no value. It's valuable to a degree because the business owner is getting some, brand awareness or people looking at their business, but it doesn't really hold any value. Because if you think about it, like brand awareness and awareness campaigns and all of that stuff, it doesn't convert into anything valuable for the business, okay? Because really the most valuable thing to a business is cash. And awareness is the farthest form of conversion away from cash that you can get. And so as we creep towards cash and actually making money, the value of the vehicle increases, right? So when we're looking at these 7 things here, awareness, traffic, lead, appointment, show, close, and repeat purchase, it's important to note that like the first ones aren't very valuable because they're really far away from conversion and actually making money. So traffic. Now traffic is a really weak form of value again. Now this is also why web design agencies, branding agencies, creative agencies, SEO agencies, they don't do very well, right? And that might sound like a pretty blunt attack, but the truth is that if those businesses added value, that they'd be the sorts of businesses to start. But you have to critically think about this for a second. Like, what does a website actually do for a business? Okay, well, yeah, sure, it's awareness. Maybe there's some traffic there, but it's not a lead. It's not an appointment. It's not a show. It's not a close. It's not a repeat purchase. It's nothing really. So if you're going to start an agency or you're thinking about getting into the agency space, let go of any idea of doing web design, let go of any idea of doing creative work or branding or graphic design or SEO, because the truth is that all of those creative endeavors don't really add any value to a business. And if you want to prove me wrong, by all means you can do that. You can go and start one of those agencies. But there's a reason why the biggest agencies in this SMMA space, the ones that really get to 7 figures, multi-7 figures, are all focused on the end result. So this is the problem. This is why, like, I see a lot of web design agencies really struggling to get clients with cold email. I see a lot of people who do SEO like struggling with cold calling and stuff. And it's because all they can promise is awareness and traffic. And business owners don't want awareness and traffic. Business owners want cash or vehicles that can generate cash. Now, awareness and traffic are the first steps to getting cash, but they're way too far away from the actual goalpost. Okay, and so that's why I would not recommend you start those agencies. Now, leads are valuable to a degree, right? So if you're generating leads for a business, they are valuable and they can be exchanged for money, right? By all means. But leads are only valuable to the business if the business has a method to book them into appointments or if the leads are really qualified. So here's the thing, lead value scales with quality. So if you're a lead generation agency and you want to make more money, right? And you want to charge more per lead, the only real way you can do that, the only real way you can command more money is to add more value. And when it comes to all of these stages of value, the higher quality the prospect in terms of the stage they're at, so like a show, an appointment, a lead, traffic, the higher quality those people are in terms of being qualified to actually purchase from the business with a painful problem and the monetary means to actually invest in a solution, that improves the value. So if you're generating leads, maybe one way you can actually charge more for your leads is basically to try and find people or people in the market who have more money, because then they have more disposable income to purchase from your clients, right? There's 2 things that really drive lead quality: pain and money. Because without pain, nobody has a reason to buy anything, right? And so that's the cornerstone. If someone's got enough pain, they'll do anything to solve the problem. But also they need to have money to actually alleviate that pain through your client solution, okay? Now the 4th stage is appointments. Now we're cooking, right? This is where you actually start to enter the realm of value. Booked appointments are quite valuable to a business as they indicate more intent for the prospect to purchase. Because if you went to a business owner and you said, I want you to give me $2,000, and for that $2,000, I can either give you 100 appointments with people qualified to buy from you, or I can build a website for you. What do you think the business owner is going to pick? Well, if they're smart, which most business owners are, the business owners you want as clients, they're going to pick the appointments, because you can't turn a website into money, right? Maybe you can with SEO and stuff, but once again, it's too long of a burn. So then we have shows. So shows are really valuable. If you're wondering what a show is, this is when someone who books an appointment actually walks into the door, ripe for conversion. Then we have close. So close is money transacted, right? This is the purest form of value for a business. Money in, ideally at a return on their investment. When someone, you generate them, walks in the door and buys from them, that is the purest form of value. And business owners, they will exchange any amount of money in return for that level of value. Let me explain it. So if you write a cold email sequence that says, hey business owner, I can get 1,000 people in your area looking at your business. Not many people will reply. If you say, hey, I can get 100 people, or I can get like 500 people to your website, maybe it's a little bit more valuable. Then if you say, hey, I can get you, 200 leads of people that might want to buy from you, kind of valuable, they might start paying for that. But then if you say, hey, I can actually get 100 people booked into your calendar to buy from you, that's when you cook. That's when money starts to flow. But if you change that and say, hey, I can get you 75 or 60 people walking through your doors that are qualified to buy from you, more money can be exchanged for that because it's more valuable. But then with the close, if you say, hey, I can actually guarantee that you get 30 people to transact money with you, you're gonna rake it in. And this is what we do with Imperium. We guarantee 20 clients for our clients. And so it's impossible to say no. Now, the seventh stage of value is repeat purchase. This is when a customer buys again, kicking up the lifetime value and boosting profits. This is the most valuable thing. You might think that value stops at the close, but the truth is that the most valuable thing to a business is repeat custom, because that's when the ROI really starts to kick in, and that's when profitability becomes, insane as well. Because it really, if you ask what is valuable to a business owner, it's profit. It's not really revenue. It's not really cash. It's how much money they actually keep at the end of the day, and repeat purchase is the key to profitability. So let's actually go through these models. Before you can design your offer and decide which, what you're going to offer and how you're going to position your service, you actually need to decide which business model you want to operate out of. Most people who teach offers skip this part. Okay, so if you've done any training on how to build an offer before, but you haven't precursored that training with how to actually model your business, you're kind of screwed, because the way you want to start an agency is you want to start by deciding your niche, then you want to design your business model, and then you build your offer. Because the offer has to be built to complement the business model that you've already picked, because it has to have good incentive alignment, because the cornerstone of a great offer is solid incentive alignment. But on top of that, it has to be relevant to a niche. So a lot of people are just like, I'm going to offer this, and then it's chaos. So let's get into it. So there are 7 business or pricing models, basically, that you can use and choose from to build your SMMA. 3 of them you're never going to have heard of before. So the first 7 I'm going to walk you through are relatively straightforward and self-explanatory, but there's 3 offers later on in this video that will completely blow your mind. You won't have seen them before. I created them myself, so you're going to love them. So 7 standard models. So we start with a retainer. This is basically where you charge a set dollar amount per month, right? Pretty boring. Works in green niches. And what I mean by green niche is any business that hasn't been burned before, right, is going to succumb to a retainer. But nearly every business owner in any major niche has been royally screwed over by an agency charging a retainer, usually multiple times, and therefore they won't buy this again. You can scrap the idea of the cushy retainer if you're in a major niche, at least until you've got an obscene amount of social proof to give the person confidence you're not going to do what the other 5 agencies before you did. Then we have pay per lead, another simple model, slightly better than retainer, right? You will convince more people to buy because it is more valuable. They're paying for the lead, not the service. This is where you charge per lead. Again, most major businesses understand that leads don't really matter and will be skeptical of lead quality, right? Because once again, all of these people have worked with agencies who've promised leads, delivered leads, but the business got a bunch of leads, but as far as the business was concerned, they weren't valuable leads because they were either unqualified, they didn't show up, they didn't book appointments, they just bad leads. If you do this, you need to position it as pay per qualified lead. So it shouldn't be pay per lead, it should be pay per qualified lead. And if the prospect says, well, what the hell do you mean by qualified? Well, I explained that earlier. We know there's 2 main vehicles for qualification. The first one is pain, and the second one is monetary access. So pay per appointment. Now this is better than leads and strikes a nice balance of incentive between you and the client. So this is actually my favorite standard model to use. If I was starting an agency from scratch, this is what I'd use, although I would actually use one of the 3 models I'm going to share with you later, right? It's a little bit more advanced. The main thing here is to make sure you have a solid system that actually gets appointments to show up. The problem a lot of people run into with appointments is they figure out how to get the leads, they figure out how to get the appointments, but then they struggle to actually get those appointments to actually show up and walk through the door. If you're struggling with that, I actually made a video on this, okay? So linked in the resource that you can find in the description. This is basically contained here. Pay per show. This is one of the best models, right? Because it's so close to the thing the prospect really wants, which is cash transacted, but there's some difficulties with it, okay? There's a bit of a dichotomy to balance. It's one of the best models, but it's very difficult to track. So getting paid is harder. I personally wouldn't use this unless I had a method to track whether the leads have actually shown up. Pay per lead, for any of you who have been around the block for a while here, like I have with this market. Pay per lead was a huge deal 18 months ago, popularized by Hormozi's Alan software, right, which is a lead show up system software, tracking software. It's kind of cool. But I've since seen a dip in popularity in this model, naturally due to the difficulty of tracking of someone actually showing up. If you can solve this, if one of you is watching this and you find a way to solve the pay per show tracking problem, send me a DM on Instagram or find my email and email me, and I will pay you an awful lot of money because it's worth solving that problem for a lot of people for me, okay? So pay per show, it's a model you can use. You'll find client acquisition easier with it, but you're going to struggle a lot more with actually tracking it and delivering it. Because when you're building these models, we're finding a balance between how hard it is to deliver the service and how easy it is to get clients. Because a retainer, for example, makes it really hard to get clients, but really easy to make the money and get the cash on the door. Does that make sense? So then we have the percentage of revenue share. This is probably the most favorable offer from a client's perspective, but by far the least favorable for the agency. Near enough impossible to track for lead gen clients. The problem with revenue share is to track this and attribute this, you need access to the client's CRM, you need access to their payment processor, their bank accounts and more. And not only this, but the client has a direct incentive to lie to you, right? You can do the revenue share. In fact, the YouTube ads agency that runs my YouTube ads at the moment, adspend.com with Brian Moncada, if you guys are familiar with him, have a very robust tracking system with Hyros that allows them to attribute revenue to leads, right? And so in theory, they could do a commission-based deal, right? And they have a way of tracking that. But the problem is it's a very sophisticated system and they are a 7-figure agency. And so if you're just starting, I wouldn't try to build an entire revenue tracking system because, well, it's very difficult. You can use Hyros, but once again, it comes down to this problem where you can get dishonest clients. Clients are literally incentivized to lie to you. So I don't really recommend this if you're a beginner. If you've got some more experience and you're really good at what you do, then by all means. But the other problem with the revenue share percentage, specifically for lead generation, is it puts your income in someone else's hands. You're going to get paid based on the sales ability and sales skills of your clients. And trust me when I say most business owners struggle with that, which is why they don't get clients, right? So be careful. Now, the sixth thing is a pretty cool way to do it. And this is another really good model that I would recommend you use, which is setup fee and result. So this is where you charge a setup fee for the first month and then continue with a pay per result model in later months. This is a nice combination of consistency, of cash retainers. You know, it gives you another alignment of incentive. So if this was me, this is a model I would use because you can say you work on a pay and results basis, you charge a setup fee of a couple of thousand, a couple of grand, whatever. And then off the back of that, you can then start rolling out pay per appointment work, pay per lead work, pay per show work, pay per close work. Once again, it is up to you which model you use. I recommend pay per appointment if you're new, but I'm going to give you some more models in just a second, you know, that are far more advanced than this and far shinier. So then we have the free trial. I'm going to say this, avoid, right? Clients have no commitment. Your reputation is annihilated due to the desperate measures that you're using to get clients. And business owners understand the nature of transaction. Business owners aren't stupid. They understand that in order to get, they have to give, right? In order for them to receive value, they have to give money. The free thing, I don't get it. It doesn't position you well. The thing about this as well is business owners are more skeptical of free than they are of pay on result. So pay on result work is actually more appealing than free. And if you don't believe me, just try it. Right? Reach out to 100 businesses, cold call 100 businesses. And for 100 cold calls, say I'm going to do it for free. And for 100 cold calls, say I'm going to do it for a pay on results basis or pay on commission basis. You will get way more people wanting to do the pay on commission basis because the business owners think, huh, this guy actually must know how to do this. Because the free thing doesn't really give them much confidence. And business owners aren't going to let you, screw around with their business just so you can practice your services. So avoid the free trial like the plague. In order for someone to work with you, money has to be exchanged to some degree. Do not take on clients without some form of upfront commitment and payment, okay? Now, let's talk about how to actually price these because, the next question you might immediately jump to then is, well, Charlie, how do I price my pay per result offers? If I'm charging per appointment or if I'm charging per show, charging per lead, if I'm doing rev share, how much should I actually charge? And I've got a real simple model for you here. So if you're wondering what to charge with a simple pay per result model, here's a model for it. For reference, lifetime value is the amount of money the business will collect from a typical customer over the entire lifetime of that customer. So when I'm using the acronym LTV, this stands for lifetime value. For example, if you're not familiar with this term, let's say a gym charges $10 a month, and on average, their members stay with them for 18 months. Well, then the lifetime value for a customer at that gym is $180. Which means each customer is worth $180. Okay, so you have to understand that. So in order to price. Here's the thing, we've got 3 pricing tiers really. So the way you're gonna charge for each of these, pay on result offers depends on how much money the client charges for their product. Because here's the thing is that in order for the client to make money, they have to charge something. So you have to charge in relation to what they're charging, if that makes sense, right? Because obviously you're paying results. Your result that you can make is limited by the result they can make. If the client has a low ticket product, which is a product anywhere between $100 to $1,000 in lifetime value, like a gym or a beauty salon, although I know some girls that go to beauty salons and they basically are high ticket customers. But low ticket products, maybe you're working with restaurants or something. Don't work with restaurants, not a very good niche. But anyway, sorry for another day. Per lead, right? If you're charging per lead, 5% of lifetime value is reasonable here. Per appointment, 10% of lifetime value is reasonable. Per show, 15% of lifetime value is reasonable, and rev share, 25% is reasonable. For mid-ticket products, so if your products that you're selling for your clients are anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000 in lifetime value, this is where we start looking at electricians, this is where we start looking at cosmetics and dental surgeries, etc. Then you can start getting a little bit more expensive, because the thing is this number has to scale back. You're going to make more money because, well, the end result is greater for the client. So per lead, about 3%, per appointment, 7.5%, per show, 12.5%, and rev share, 20%. One of the biggest forms of leverage you can have for your agency is working with clients that charge high ticket for their products. Honestly, it's like if I had my time again with the agency space, I don't think I would go into a niche that didn't charge decent amounts of money for their services, because it's so much easier for you to make money because when money is abundant. And what I mean by abundant is when if you bring one customer to a business that is worth $10,000, you can charge way more for that than bringing one customer to like a gym or something. And trust me, it's probably just as hard to get an appointment for a high ticket coaching offer than it is to get an appointment for a gym, right? It really is similar, right? Because there's a different level of problem. So that's just some insight for you. So if you're selling high ticket products, right, which is $3,000 to $10,000 plus in lifetime value, then you want to charge anywhere between 1 to 2.5% of LTV, 3% of LTV per appointment, 4% to 5% per show, and you can do 10% if it's rev share. Now, bear in mind that these recommendations are arbitrary guidelines, right? I've just created them based on what I think is reasonable and what I would charge if I was going into one of these different tiers. Now, there may be more optimal pricing models for your niche, and if you're wondering how do I find out like what I should charge per appointment, well, you can just look no further than your competitors that already have these models in place. Now, once again, I never want you to work with a client without getting some form of financial commitment first. It can be minimal. It can be a couple of $100, right? But never say, okay, we'll generate you X result and you'll pay us at the end of the month, because you're probably not going to get paid. All right. Just be very careful. So if you do charge per X result, charge weekly and make sure you get their card on file. You want to set the expectation they'll be billed on X day, X time, and charge the card on file for the result. So let's say that a client doesn't want to do an upfront payment, right? A bit of a red flag, but if you're new and you just want to sign someone to get some experience, whatever, right? What you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, I'm going to charge you for leads, and I'm going to charge you weekly. Do not charge them monthly, because too much time's elapsed and you want it to be weekly at the beginning. So let's say you're doing like pay per appointment, pay per show, pay per lead. What you do is you say to them, okay, well, I need to get your card on file so I can bill you for the leads that come through. And then you say, I'm going to bill you on Sundays between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. UK time. And that way you set the expectation they know they will be charged for the leads you generated through that week at that time. You want to do this weekly to begin with when you're building a relationship with the client at the very beginning, because if you do it monthly, it's too painful for them at the end of the month, because they're going to be like, oh, the leads didn't convert. But if you do it weekly, they're more familiar with it. It works a lot better. Trust me, I used to run like a pay per lead thing for my clients in the gym space, or for the online high ticket personal trainers niche during COVID. Before I started Imperium, I started doing like pay per appointment work, and I tried some clients with weekly, some clients with monthly, and the weekly thing works so much better. I collected way more cash. Just bear that in mind. But you want to set a specific time, a specific expectation, and obviously you set the amount per lead or per appointment or per show or per close, whatever it is, and then you just charge at the end of every week. Once you've done that for like a month, you can then move to bi-weekly, and after like month 3, you can move to monthly. But in the first, month of the relationship, you want to charge weekly. I'm actually going to walk you through something called the beginner's pricing curse. All right. Here's an interesting idea for you. If you're new to SMMA, instead of trying to make $10,000 a month, try just to not quit. So when you start your agency, you've probably got a monetary goal of making a certain amount of money. And I want you to release attachment to that goal. And I want you to put all of your attachment onto the idea of just not quitting. Because if you don't quit, you'll probably, and you proceed and you press on in spite of all the pain, you're probably going to make the 10 grand a month you so desire, right? So the problem with a lot of people is the reason they quit is usually because of their pricing. And their pricing becomes the beginner's curse, the pricing, because they overprice their services, they try and charge too much, they get discouraged because they can't sign clients, and they quit. Any source of discouragement that you potentially have in your business, you need to try to remedy, because otherwise you're going to quit and then you're going to lose and it'll be painful. So if you're new to this or don't have much experience, I want you to let go of the instant gratification you so desire from charging retainers or large setup fees. You can't go into a market knowing nothing and start charging 2 grand a month for a service you've never delivered before. This is not 2019. We're not in 2018, doesn't work anymore. Understand, your first couple of clients are going to be a mess. It's going to go wrong. Because let's just map this out, right? If you charge a big fee and it goes south, which it will at the beginning, you're going to burn the client. You're going to ruin your reputation. You're going to break your own heart. You're going to lose conviction and probably quit. If you've charged a retainer and and it goes wrong, you're going to get a refund request, a chargeback, or worse. So don't do it. We're not in 2019 anymore, so stop listening to advice from courses built on how to price your services that were made in 2019. One of the most fatal mistakes I see new agency owners making is trying to sell a price they don't have faith in. They get on sales calls and feel hopeless trying to close these retainer deals because deep down, they know their service is not yet worth the money they're charging, so they feel like scammers, or at least people with a good moral compass, right? So when a beginner asks me, well, Charlie, what's the best price to charge? The answer is always the same. The best price to charge is the one you have the most conviction in selling. Because your ability to make money and your ability to generate cash for your business is directly correlated with how much belief you have in your ability to actually do what you say you can do for the prices at which you say you can do it. So if you know that you're not that good at your service, and you know that you're still new, and you've got some doubts about your product, and you go into a sales call and you try and command $2,000 a month for that, you're going to feel like you're ripping someone off. You're going to feel like you're scamming someone, which you kind of are to a degree. Whereas if you go in and if you really believe it's worth $2,000 a month, then you're going to get away with selling it. That's absolutely fine, right? Because if you've deluded yourself, or maybe it genuinely is worth $2,000 a month. You want to be very careful here, because don't just pick a price and say, yeah, because this is what people do. This is a stupid thing. Is they want to make, they're like, I want to make $10,000 a month. And they're like, okay, well, to make $10,000 a month, all I need is 5 clients to $2,000. And so they price their service based on their goal. Never, ever, ever make business decisions based on what you want, right? Is the number one rule of business is make decisions based on what is best for your client, not what is best for you. Because for as long as you do that, you will make an infinite amount of money, right? So for example, right now I make around anywhere between $800,000 to $1 million a month with my online coaching business, right, with Imperium Acquisition. And the only reason I'm able to do that is because all of my decisions, all of my pricing strategies, guarantees, decision-making ability, it's all been based on one thing: what is best for the client. I'm not charging people a certain amount of money for my program so that I can hit a specific goal for myself. I'm charging a very specific amount, I've very thought it through very clearly, so that I can actually have people held accountable, make sure the business is making cash so we can reinvest into the product and bring more customers in. So just be very careful. Don't price out of ego, price out of empathy, okay? And just bear that in mind, be careful. If you try to charge something you think isn't worthwhile, you'll close no deals. You might then be thinking, well, Charlie, okay, so what should I do, right? What actually is the best way to do this? Well, I am gonna walk you through 3 models and you're gonna love them. All right. I don't mean fashion models, although you might like models. Maybe you do. Most people tend to like them if they're guys. But I'm going to run you through some models. Now, excuse the narcissism and blatant ego play here, but I'm calling these Morgan's SMMA models. First of all, it's got a bit of a ring to it. And second of all, well, maybe I'm just a bit narcissistic. But the problem is I didn't really know what else to name these models because I haven't seen them anywhere else. So we're going to cover 3 models that you've never seen of or heard of before. Now, excuse the naming convention, like I said. I didn't know what to name them as a group because, well, nobody's created these, right? So there are 3 things. There are 3 ways to structure your business as a beginner, or there's really 2 and there's one extra one. And if you follow these, this is going to change a lot of stuff for a lot of people. Either that or I'm completely wrong, being a complete idiot. But this is basically what I did with my agency, and I kind of didn't want to tell anyone because I was like, well, this is kind of just a secret to growing. But here we are. Model 8. So we've gone through the 7 standard models, right? We've been through the standard pay-per lead, pay-per appointment, yawn, boring revenue share, free trials, all of that. Now let's actually go through some stuff that's a bit shinier. So this is called the upfront result and discrepancy guarantee model. This, I believe, is the single best way to charge your clients for pay on result work. So I'm hoping by now you get the gist that your business model needs to be based in some way, shape or form based around pay on value, right? So we understand there's 7 stages of value. And so you're only going to get paid if you deliver value. We understand that awareness, traffic, and leads, they're not all that great because businesses just don't really care. But we also understand that we can't really control repeat purchases, closes. We can't really track shows. So appointment is a beautiful mid-ground for me. Let's walk through how to actually structure this. So this, I'm going to say it, is the best model for beginners looking to get their first or next 10 clients. God, I sound like I'm about to sell you a course. I promise I'm not, right? But this is the best model. I'm going to give it to you for free. Don't worry. I'm not going to hold anything back. I'm going to give you the whole thing on the screen. No 997 request. Bit of a mouthful, but here's how it works. So the way this model works is you pick the result. Let's just use the example here of leads. So you're doing a pay per lead offer, right? What you do is you charge for that a certain amount of leads up front. And then you have what I call a discrepancy guarantee, which is basically where after a certain amount of time has elapsed, if you haven't hit the number of leads or results that you promised, you refund the difference based on the value of the leads. What does that mean, Charlie? Please explain what the hell does that mean? Let me give you an example. So let's say that you're going to work with gyms, right? Just a simple example, or any niche. And you go to the gym and you say, I'm going to guarantee 100 qualified leads. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to charge you per lead. And they're like, great, I like the sound of that, because it's not a retainer, right? You then say, okay, I'm going to value each lead at $20. And so what you do is you basically charge $2,000 upfront for that month. You then say to the business, for every lead that I do not generate under 100, I will refund you the difference. So you're completely protected, black and white guarantee. I've got a contract, you're under stripes, so you can dispute the payment. I'm recording the call, I'll send you the recording, you can trust me. And what that means is that if you only generate them 80 leads, there's a discrepancy between the 100 you promised and the 80 you delivered. So there's 20 leads to account for. So what you then do is you basically take those 20 leads and you refund 20 times 20 because you value the leads at $20, right? So you refund them $400. Let me give you another example. Let's say you want to work with coaches and consultants and you want to guarantee them 10 appointments, right? Just for argument's sake. And you're going to value each appointment at $100. And you say, I'm going to guarantee you 10 appointments qualified with people who want to buy your thing every single month, every 30 days. And you say it's $100 per appointment. So you then charge $1,000 up front because for anyone with a brain, 10 times 100 is 1,000. You charge $1,000. If after 30 days you've only generated them 8 appointments, you then refund them $200. So do you see how that works? This is how we marry everything together. And this is a very non-binary way of thinking, right? And I don't mean the gender, we're not going to get into that argument. But non-binary thinking is where you've got two dichotomies of like pay on results and retainer, or setup fees and pay on results, and we marry them together. So with this model, it's great for you and it's great for the client. Because it's great for you because, well, you're getting paid up front. So you've got the benefit of setup fees, retainers, and you've got cash in the bank. But then also it's great for the client because you now have a direct incentive and you are held directly accountable to this. Because here's the great thing. Loss aversion is one of the most powerful forms of motivation. So as an agency owner, once you've got that $2,000, that $1,000 in your bank, you don't want to lose it. So you will dance. And you say this to your client. You say, I'm going to be way more motivated to keep that money. And that's why I want to deliver this best result for you. If we just agree that at the end of the month I'm going to get paid, I'm not as motivated to make it work. And trust me, I want it to work, but loss aversion, any business owner should understand this. This is the best way. You can do this over a 30-day time horizon, a 60-day time horizon, or a 90-day time horizon. Anything else pushes it a bit more. But if I was starting an agency, I would probably go into I don't know what niche I'd go into, but I'll use this argument of like coaches and consultants again. I could go to coach consultants, high-ticket coach consultants that sell a package worth more than $5,000 and say to them like, look, over the next 90 days, I'm going to generate you 100 appointments, right? Qualified people in your niche who want to buy from you, $5,000, right? You could charge like $500 per appointment. You could just ramp it up like that. And it works. It works really well. And I know it works because I've actually used this model to build my own agencies, and now I'm sharing it with everyone. So it's kind of out there. But this is the first model that I want to share with you. Best way to do it, okay? So let's imagine actually pitching this in a sales conversation. So this sounds great in theory, but like how the hell do you actually pitch this? Well, all right, Mr. Prospect. Here is how the pricing works. I'm going to promise you 30 appointments, qualified appointments with people in your space per month. That's our guarantee. I'm going to guarantee 30 appointments. Since each customer is worth $500 to you, we value each appointment at $50, giving you 90% value markup on each appointment. This is how you pitch it. So what we're going to do is charge you $1,500 per month plus ad spend, which is going to be separate. I'll explain that later. And that's 30 appointments at $50. So you're basically paying for these appointments. You're paying us $1,500, but really you're not paying us anything. You're paying for the appointments. Does that make sense? Right? So then we have a discrepancy guarantee, which is by far the best bet. For every appointment we miss under 30, we'll refund the difference. We'll refund $50. So if we only generate 25 appointments and miss the mark by 5, we'll refund you $250. This way, you're only actually paying for the appointments, but you don't have the annoyance of being billed every time we generate an appointment. It's the easiest, most predictable, and probably the most risk-free way to actually grow this business. So that's how you pitch it. And business owners love this. And you can do this with leads, appointments, shows, closes. I would just say appointments is probably the best one because it's the easiest to track. But then what might happen is, one objection that I had to handle when I figured out how to handle this one with my agency, when they say, well, what about the appointments that don't show up? Like, am I paying for appointments that just don't turn up that might not be very valuable for them. So what you do is you say, well, that's a really good question, Mr. Prospect. So what we're doing is valuing each appointment at 10% of your product's lifetime value. However, what we should really be doing is charging a 15% lifetime value charge, because then you've got 85% markup on the value of your product. But since we understand that only 60 to 75% of the appointments are going to no-show, we only charge 10%. So basically, like, you're not paying for the no-shows because we've already factored them into the price. So instead of charging you the true market value, we believe, of 15% for the appointments, we only charge 10% because, well, we know that like a third of the people aren't going to show up. And that's me being honest with you. Like every appointment we book you, it's not going to show up. But I want to make sure you understand we're not charging you as much as we could because we know that that's going to happen. So it's already been factored in. You do not have to worry about it. That's how you get around that objection. It's a chef's kiss little way of doing this. Now, the best part is you have concessions. So if they don't want to close on the full upfront fee, you can close them on half the appointment or even 25%. If they're like, well, I don't want to do 30 appointments up front, you can say, well, listen, how about we just do 15 appointments up front and then you pay the other 15 at the end of the month? How does that sound? Bang, easy. Right, so that's model number one, or model, really that's the first model for like beginners. If you're brand new, wonderful, wonderful way to do business. Perfect incentive alignment, great use of loss aversion, so you're held accountable, easy to sell, easy to position, and it also like makes you feel like you're not screwing people over, because if you charge like a retainer and you don't get the result, you feel bad. But if you're charging per appointment, you don't get the results, or you don't get all the results, you can always refund the difference. Okay, so it's the most flexible way to do it. Model 9 is what I call the Trojan horse retainer. This is another thing that you won't have seen before. Nobody's talking about this. There's nobody teaching this method of doing business, this model. I came up with this one, so it's pretty cool. So the Trojan horse retainer is a great way to sign clients that are on the fence, or if you're just getting started, but you need to make a bold statement to sign people up, okay? So disclaimer, this strategy only really works if you have the bite to actually match the bark. And what I mean by that is you can only do this if you can actually deliver results. So this Trojan horse retainer model is really only reserved for agencies that actually know what they're doing, right? If you actually have a good service. So you can sign up 100 clients on a 60-day commission program, which is how this works. But if you have a really good service, none of them will make it to the retainer. Like, imagine if the actual Trojan horse the Greeks used in Troy was filled with untrained soldiers, there would have been no point in introducing it. So the way the Trojan horse model works is basically we say to the clients, I want you to give me a small setup fee, right, which covers my overheads for the next 2 to 3 months. I'm then going to work on a pure pay and results basis for you for the next 2 to 3 months. After that period of time, I'm going to start charging you a retainer once we've built some rapport and once you love me and once we've got some faith. So basically, it's a Trojan horse. Because the pay and results thing is the Trojan horse, the retainer is actually in there. But unlike in the ancient Greek times, we're actually telling them the soldiers are in the horse, right? They're not just randomly expecting to be a charge of retainer. Trojan horse retainers also make great sales concessions. So if you can't get someone on your regular retainer or your regular setup, you can always fall back on these in a negotiation. So we delay the retainer and we use this to get into the client's business and provide such great results and add so much value that we become effectively irreplaceable. After which point the client has no choice but to pay the retainer, okay? So loss is more powerful than gain. So if you come into someone's business and you really help them and add so much value, they're going to have no problem paying you a retainer. But a lot of these business owners have trust issues, right? So kind of need to bear that in mind. Before I explain, please note this only works if you have A+ service delivery and can actually get your clients results. It's for people who are great at delivering services but suck at getting results, basically. So the workflow is very simple. You approach prospects and you tell them you're willing to work on a pay and results basis. And you're like, hey, John, love what you're doing at John's business, right? Quick idea to run by you, mate. I run a company that partners with businesses like John's business and delivers them growth and customers on a pure commission or pay and results basis. It's a definition of risk-free growth. I was curious to see if you'd be exploring that. No catch, I only profit when you do. Are you open to this idea? Right? Very simple. People are going to bite. Then you get the prospect on the phone and you run through the normal sales script and then wait for them to ask how they can work with you. Now, here's the kicker, right? You want to charge them a setup fee. Do not just do this without charging some sort of setup fee. But the way you position the setup fee is very important. So basically you say the setup fee goes towards your team and any overheads associated with handling their account, making it clear that you as the owner of the business only profit when you do. Now, it's up to you to be honest here. I'm not encouraging you to lie to people. I'm just telling you that one way you can do this is to basically say, well, listen, we need $1,000 up front because that covers my media buying costs and that covers my creative costs because I, as the owner of the business, am willing to work on a pay and results basis and only eat when you do, but I don't expect my team to do the same thing. I'll take the risk, but I don't expect my team to do the risk. So the setup fee is going to cover my overheads for the next couple of months. So I'm not making any profit on that. And then obviously it then rolls out. But Please be honest in business. Don't go lying to people to get customers, but that's how you can do it, okay? Now, then you close them on a commission or pay on results deal for 30 to 90 days, and then proceed to get a setup fee paid. You should then proceed to set up the retainer so that it bills automatically, which is basically like giving the payment a trial period for however long the commission is lasting for. So you set a time frame, you set the expectation, you set the payment. So like, let's say you say after 60 days, I'm going to start charging you a retainer of $2,000 a month. You get that set up there and then. You go into Stripe, you delay the payment, and that way it's done. The expectation is set. The client has basically paid in their mind, and now all you have to do for the next 2 months is focus on actually getting them really good results. And that way, if you do that, they're going to pay the money because they want to keep you around. They don't want to lose you, okay? Now, alternatively, continue outreaching as you normally would and booking calls for your standard retainer deal or whatever you're doing. But when prospects are on the fence and don't want to buy, then you can open up the Trojan horse option and be like, well, if this is such a good fit, like I don't want to, I don't want this to stand in the way of us. Like, how about we do the Trojan horse thing? So what you can do is you can say to the prospect, like, if you're just trying to do standard retainers, you can keep this in your back pocket. Because if they're like, oh, I don't want to do like the retainer, you can say, well, Mr. Prospect, this is just simply too good to be true. Like, you're such a good fit for us and I do not want money to stand in the way. Can I present an opportunity to you that might remove the risk? They'll say yes, you then position the Trojan horse retainer. Some frequently asked questions for this. So the first thing people usually ask is, well, how do I justify the setup fee if the prospect is expecting a commission-based relationship? Well, you tell them that whilst you're having to have some skin in the game, so do they. You can't go completing hours and hours of setup work with no tangible commitment from the client. And at the same time, you have a team to pay. As the owner of the agency, you're comfortable providing a pay on results basis, but you want to make sure your team can put food on the table. This is easily overcome with some decent objection handling. How do I justify the retainer to the client after the commission-based period is finished, right? Well, you don't have to because your results will. If you clearly set expectations from the get-go that the retainer is tied into the deal, the client won't get angry and you can start charging them. If they try to negotiate, like just one more week or one more month before the retainer kicks in, just tell them no and set the terms. It helps to get a contract docu-signed to this effect. The contract doesn't have to be anything fancy, just something that clearly states the terms and a time frame and amount at which the retainer will be introduced and how it will be charged. Now, I can't give you a contract, unfortunately, because I'm not a lawyer and I don't like the idea of giving 10,000 people an SMMA contract and then for one person to be stupid enough to get sued and then for that person to come to me and say, hey, this is your agreement, so I'm actually going to sue you for me being sued. I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm not risking it, so sorry about that. How do I go about asking for the payment after the grace period? Once again, you don't have to ask for the retainer or the payment because it should already be set with an automatic billing system or software. Simple. So here's a script for when the client asks how they can move forward. So if the client's like, all right, kind of sounds good, how does it work? You say, well, as you know, we work on a pay-per-appointment basis, and we do this to demonstrate insane levels of confidence in our service and to make you working with us feel as comfortable as possible. For long-term consistency, we do charge clients retainers, but for the first 60 days, we'll deliver everything on the pay-per-appointment basis, and then we're going to charge $50 per appointment for this. After the 60 days, we're going to introduce a monthly retainer of $2,000 a month, and the commission is this, right? You can make that up, whatever you want. We do require a setup fee. Now, I know this might come as a bit of a surprise, but we have to get some level of demonstration of commitment from clients because the thing with the setup fee is we have costs associated with running your account. So the setup fee is used to cover the overheads associated with handling your account without us having to charge you a monthly retainer. After all, I'm happy to front the risk of the owner of the agency, but I don't expect my team to do the same thing. So this setup fee is going to go into their pocket, not mine. The setup fee is $2,000. However, what we found is that clients who make decisions quickly tend to be the best ones. So if you move forward today, it's only $1,500, right? You can play around with this. I have signed hundreds of different clients with all these different models, and these are sales scripts that I've used exact, like the word for word, so you can sort of use some inspiration and take them. Unless you're in the gym niche, because I think I probably pitched like near enough everyone in the gym niche. So just bear that in mind. So now let me share something with you. I came up with this idea 5 years ago, and I've always kept it under wraps for fear of sharing it and losing an advantage that I may one day need. But then I realized that, you know what? A man only needs so much money. You don't, once you get to a certain point, it's fair enough to share with people. Even if I do this in myself, it's a very clever way of doing business. But this is like advanced level 99 plus mafia boss stuff, right? So this is called the market pays model, which I've created, and it's really interesting. Okay. Now I am not recommending that you do this if you are a beginner agency owner. This will go wrong, right? I ran my agency for like 2 years before I started experimenting with this. It started working and then COVID hit and then I transitioned to Imperium. So I never really got the chance to actually see this flourish, but I think it can work. So I'm going to share it with you today, but heed my advice that if you're new to the business, please do not use this model, okay? It won't work for you. So this model is one of the biggest strokes of genius I've had in my 8 years as an entrepreneur. Note, this is not a proven model with a stellar track record. This is a wild card. This is for veterans who really understand the market and want to use their expertise to get a big advantage in the market. So this is not like your standard pay-per-show, pay-per-appointment, pay-per-lead retainer model that thousands of agencies have been using for years on end. Nobody has ever done this before. Now, I did it for about 6 months and I got to 6 figures with it. So I know it works, but that's just me, right? Now, I'm not saying that I'm the be-all end-all of business and it's only the reason it worked is because of me. That's not true entirely. That's not true at all. But the point here is this hasn't got that track record that we would see with other models, right? You could say the same thing with the Trojan horse retainer and also with the upfront result and discrepancy guarantee model. But these are just repackaged offers that already work, right? These are just models that like already are proven and work, but just repackaging them so the incentive structure, the risk, and the reward is better for everyone. So that's fine. But with this, very different kettle of fish. So here's how it works, right? It's kind of cool. I like it. So what you do is you enter a niche that has an abundance of lead magnets, right? Things that businesses can give away that have little to no cost that the market would typically exchange for leads. So we know what a lead magnet is. Like if you're in the gym niche, 7-day free trial, 3 like group classes for free, a t-shirt, a consulting session, a nutrition session, whatever. What you then do is you repackage the lead magnets using your big marketing brain into a low ticket paid offer and you sell it through a funnel. So you sell the low ticket paid offer via a funnel. And this is where e-commerce meets lead gen. So this is another non-binary thinking fusion. You know those fusion restaurants where you go and they've got like an Italian place and they've also got like a place from Lebanon, Lebanese food, and they put them together and it's just the best thing you ever had. This is a fusion model, right? This combines 2 really good things. What you do is you use your Stripe, and then the way this works, you sell these low ticket offers to the people in the market, right, around 5 kilometers around the gym, 10 kilometers around the gym, or whatever business you're in. But you use your Stripe. So what happens is the prospects for your client pay for this low ticket offer, which could be like a free trial or a small paid trial. And then you use your Stripe. So you collect the money from the market. And then what you then do, step 4, is you pass the details of the person who's just purchased onto the client as a lead. So what happens is you're being paid by the market. You're not getting paid. Your client isn't paying you. Essentially, your client is getting free leads. And this is why this model is insane. Because, okay, so the client is going to have to pay for the ad spend, right? That kind of goes without saying. But they're not paying you anything because you're getting paid from the market, right? So the client gets leads, the agency gets paid, and the market gets value. Now, I experimented with this in the gym niche. I started seeing some results. Like I said, I got it to 6 figures. So I experimented with this in the gym niche. Like I said, I managed to get this to 6 figures. But then COVID hit and I started Imperium. So I know this works, but it's a very, 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 very hard model. It's a very unique model because you have to be really good at marketing. So it took me a long time to actually get getting clients was it's so easy. Because you go to them and you say, hey, I want to run your ads for you, but you're not going to pay me anything. I'm going to sell low ticket offers for you, receive the money from that, and then you're going to get the leads. There's a very specific way of positioning it that I won't go into now because I want people to think for themselves here. And I don't want to give the exact way I did it away because then we're going to have this like monkey see, monkey do thing. But boy, was this fun to build. Okay. So how it works is you take a series of lead magnets, and standalone, typically the lead magnets don't hold enough value to be considered worthy of like a low ticket price. I don't know, let's take the gym niche. Like you're not going to have much luck selling a 7-day pass for $20 because so many people give them away for free. So you kind of have to bolt more stuff on. So when I was in the gym space doing this, I would bolt in like a fitness planning session, which was a consulting session, like that gyms would give away for free anyway. A nutrition session, which gyms would mostly give away for free anyway. I'd give away a 7-day or 10-day pass, and then like a t-shirt, some free classes. And the way I positioned it is it was like a bundle. I'm like, hey, this is a beginner's fitness bundle. If you're thinking about getting into the gym and you want to start losing weight, getting fit, and starting to become the best version of yourself possible, this product is for you. It's $20, and it basically gives you this kickstart to actually getting yourself started, getting yourself in the gym, and giving you the confidence to start working out. So you're selling a bundle, and people then buy that for $20. And my Stripe would basically just be attached to this funnel. And then someone would like buy it through like an e-commerce sort of funnel attached to the gym's website sometimes. I would then receive the $20 and then I'd say to the gym, hey, this person just bought this bundle. Here's their phone number. Here's their thing. Here's this. And the gym would love it because the gym was getting people to come in for consultations, right? Because I'm like, part of this bundle is like someone's getting a consultation. They're getting a fitness planning session, which is like basically the gym selling them the service, right? Selling them the membership. So gyms would love this because these people are actually going to show up because like they've paid for it. They've paid $20, so they're going to show up. So they're going to use the pass, they're going to use the nutrition session, they're going to wear the t-shirt, they're going to show up, right? It's a cool way of doing it. You can look at this like a pyramid. The agency gets paid, the market gets value, and the client basically gets free leads. And this is the thing, because if you remember at the beginning, we understand that the agency and the client want two things. The agency wants high reward, low risk, and the client wants high reward and low risk. But the market pays model removes the risk for the agency and gives the agency the reward, but then it also removes the risk for the client and gives the client the reward. So the market's the sucker, but it's not the sucker because it's getting value. So this is how you marry the incentives. This video here might seem like I've just banged this one out in an hour, but this is the result of like 8 years of thinking and critically analyzing the market and trying to figure out the best models. So examples, right? This is some stuff you could do with the gym niche. Let's say you're in the dental niche, you could probably there's all sorts of things you could put into a little bundle to get people to buy online. And hair salons. Now, I have no idea. And hair salons, I don't know what you would do for hair salons, but I feel like the beauty sort of brick and mortar beauty niche would be pretty good for this as well. But this model's only going to work in specific niches, right? For example, there ain't no way in hell someone's paying $20 for a solar quote or a real estate valuation. So if you're in like the real estate niche or the solar niche or the plumbing niche, the electrician niche, HVAC niche, they don't really have any lead magnets that at least would, if bundled together, would have the market perceive enough value to pay money for them. But you also have to bear in mind here, this is now like, if you do this, you're now doing e-commerce and lead gen at the same time because you have to learn how to build like a really trustworthy funnel and like you need to do a lot of retargeting and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of cool. So in summary, balancing incentives and risk. So your job when deciding your business model and what sort of value you intend to offer is to manage the dichotomy between what is best for you and what is best for your clients. Offers that are best for your clients are easy to sell but hard to deliver or hard to track. And models that are best for you are easy to deliver but very hard to sell. So we have this problem where it's like, if I do retainers, it's hard to sell but it's easy to make money. But if I do pay per close, it's very easy to sell but hard to make money. So we have to find a nice, happy middle ground. And I think that's what we can do with either the market pays model or the Trojan horse retainer or the upfront result and discrepancy guarantee model as well. This is basically what it looks like. You're basically sacrificing something. You have to sacrifice between ease of acquisition and ease of retention, okay? And that's kind of how it works. Now, my favorite strategy here is to have offers that are insane and then basically figure out how to deliver on them. So I have like a pay-per-close offer, clients, we basically guarantee 20 clients. And if someone doesn't get 20 clients, we refund them and give them back all their money. So this is for agency owners, coach consultants. I'm not trying to pitch you, but I'm telling you what has worked for me. That's a pretty bold statement. But the thing is we've signed hundreds of clients for that offer, thousands nearly, and not one person has asked for their money back because we've actually figured out how to deliver that promise, right? So there's levels to it, but you can do it. This is the summary, right? So what's best for the agency? What's best for the client? Well, retainer and pay per lead are going to be over here. Setup fee and result, Trojan horse retainer, sort of in the middle. Upfront result and discrepancy guarantee and market pays are obviously really good for the client. And also these are really good for the agency, but I just thought putting them here is kind of good. Then we have pay per appointment, pay per show, percentage revenue share, and obviously the free trial, which we should avoid. So just because something's easy to sell doesn't mean it's a good model. And just because something is easy to deliver doesn't mean it's a good model. So the summary of this entire video is I promise to tell you what's the easiest model? What's the best model? Well, the best or easiest model is the one that fits the criteria that both you and the client are optimizing for. And in my opinion, the two best ones are the upfront result and discrepancy guarantee model and the Trojan horse retainer model. I think those are the two best ones right now. And also market pays. If market pays only really works if you can figure it out. And I'm going to bet my buck that only 1% of people that watch this video are actually going to be able to figure it out because it took me a very long time and it was pretty painful to figure. So there's a summary, best model, 7 stages of value, etc., etc. I hope you found this video very useful. If you did, then by all means you can subscribe. If you need help getting more clients, you can click the first link in the description. If you're not ready to be sold or buy something, please don't click the link. But the link is basically a video of me pitching my product and explaining to you how I can help you get more clients. I make these videos because I wish I had someone tell me this sort of stuff when I was 18 years old, 19 years old, trying to start my first business. But I also make them because I have a vested interest of growing my own company. So I hope you don't mind me trying to sell you something and pitch you something here. But with that done, if you want clients, there's a link. I don't really care if you click it or not. I just care that you implement this and actually find some value. But I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching.